We are live on YouTube and Vishwana, you can start. I see one note taker from Ashokan sir is there. Some AI representative, Ashokan's note taker is there from one of the speakers.
I'll start the webinar now.
You start and yes, ma'am, we are launching and the initial.
We are live.
Launching.
Yes, ma'am, I'm ready.
We are live, ma'am. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I would like to begin with an anonymous saying. In research, ethics isn't just a guideline, it's the heartbeat of credibility and impact. I'm Rajula, the Regional Manager, Globethics South Asia. Globethics is an international forum committed to ethics in higher education. It is based in Geneva, Switzerland, and I'm truly delighted to welcome you to day 4 of our International Faculty Development Program on Research Ethics in Higher Education. This 5-day learning journey is proudly co-organized by Globethics South Asia Center, Bangalore, and Enkash, Sri Lanka. We are incredibly honored to be joined by participants from a wide spectrum of institutions and countries. Your continued presence and active engagement are what make this FTP such a dynamic and enriching experience. A special word of appreciation to our participants joining us from across the globe. And yesterday, we witnessed participants from Bangladesh, Botswana, Burundi, Canada, Congo, Germany, Ghana, Iraq, Kenya, Malawi, New Zealand, Nigeria, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Sri Lanka, United Arab Emirates, United States, and Zambia. Your commitment to ethical research practices transcends borders and brings global perspectives into this shared space. Over the past few days, we have explored how ethical research is not just a responsibility, but a foundation for meaningful academic work. We hope you've been reflecting on important themes like authorship, institutional responsibility, and global integrity standards. Let me take a moment to recognize and thank some of the key leaders behind this initiative. Professor Prashanthi Narangoda, the director of Enkash Sri Lanka, whose leadership has been instrumental in this partnership. Dr. John Metusala, our insightful course curator, whose academic vision has shaped the structure and strength of this program. Also, today's speaker, Dr. Dania S., assistant professor at Gujarat National Law University. As always, please introduce yourself in the chat box, only in the chat box, by sharing your name, institution, and country, and feel free to share your questions and reflections as the session unfolds. A reminder that the full recording of this FTP will be shared with all registered participants after the conclusion of the program. And with regarding attendance, kindly ensure you stay connected for at least 60 minutes today to meet the certificate criteria. Thank you once again for being with us. Let's continue learning, questioning, and building together a culture of ethical excellence in higher education. And I take the opportunity to introduce today's speaker, Dr. Dania S., Assistant Professor of Law at Gujarat National Law University and head of the GNLU Center for Healthcare, Ethics, Legal Advocacy, and Policy Research. It is called GHELP. With over 9 years of academic and research experience in the field of law, Dr. Dania brings deep expertise in health law, legal ethics, and public policy. She holds a PhD in law with a strong foundation in empirical research and has been actively involved in national and international research projects on social justice, public health, and legal reforms. Her session today will cover critical dimension of responsible authorship and publication practices, including criteria for authorship, resolving disputes, and ensuring transparency in publishing. Global perspectives on research ethics, drawing comparisons between Sri Lankan and global standards, and sharing case studies and insights on international collaboration in research ethics. A sought after speaker and a legal scholar, Dr. Danya has contributed to various government and international bodies, including the Ministry of Education, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Health Organization, and National Commission for Women. She has also played key roles in curriculum development, legal reforms, and policy advocacy. We look forward to an engaging and thought-provoking session with the Dr. Dania as she brings a rich combination of academic rigor and practical insights to the conversation on ethical research and global academic integrity. Let's give a virtual round of applause to Dr. Dania. And Dr. Dania, please take over the floor.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for considering me as one of the speaker and also for the wonderful introduction. Ma'am, just wanted to confirm, are they like allowed to unmute and speak if I have anything to ask or if I have to make the session a little interactive?
You can ask them to post the message in the chat box and we have to read it, or using the Q&A. Chat box is best.
Okay, thank you so much. So with your permission, I'll start the session.
Before that, I would like to recognize the presence of Dr. Joseph Dunstan, and he's a former Vice Chancellor and strong supporter of global ethics. So thank you, sir, for joining us.
I hope the slide is visible now.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
So, good evening, everyone. Like as ma'am rightly pointed, now I was actually expecting a lot of research scholars from Sri Lanka, but now ma'am said that there are people from various other parts of the globe also. So now the contents, as she rightly said, that we'll be discussing about the responsible authorship and publication practices, criteria for authorship and the contributions, ethical practices in research and publication. So I'll be concentrating more on the ethical practices in research and publication, maybe how to avoid or how to bring in the transparency in publication and research. Then how to avoid similarity and plagiarism. I'll also be discussing on this. Then global perspectives on research ethics, guidelines on academic integrity at Sri Lanka. These are the major topics that we'll be discussing today. So first question, I'll start with a question only now. So why do we publish? What is the purpose of publication? You can put your answers in the chat box. Everyone is busy giving attendance. To disseminate the knowledge, very good. Yes. Other purposes? Any other participant? Contribution to the field of study, yes. Academic recognition, ideas for exploration, well said. To create new knowledge, okay. Create awareness, obtain credentials for promotions, very good. Recognition, create foundation for future, very good. So I also have all these answers only here. First thing is the dissemination of knowledge, which becomes very important. So during our academic journey as a faculty or as a student on both the sides of the table, we end up doing a lot of research, maybe for the discussion in class or as part of any other assignment or as part of some research. But unless we publish it, there won't be any dissemination of knowledge, or unless we go to a conference and present it, the dissemination of knowledge is not happening. So we can conduct a lot of research, and if it is just for the purpose of keeping it in our what to say, cupboards and decorate your like rooms, then there is no purpose. So the outcome needs to be disseminated to the public so that there is the dissemination of knowledge that happens. Career advancement, somebody rightly written in the chat box that it is a mandate now. So as per the criteria for your appraisal, self appraisal or promotions, etc., you need publications, and also for scholars, PhD scholars, and also as part of the other academic what to say, level as well, UG, PG or PhD, whatever it is, there is mandatory publications, or faculties can design their own evaluation criteria, and the faculties might ask you to go for the publications. Professional recognition is one, because we all know that now the research world is also well connected. So when you have publications in your name, and now ORCID ID is there, or you have your account in Google Scholar or ResearchGate, so you are known through your publications and people cite your work, and there is a professional recognition because of that. Opportunities for collaboration also you get, because once people know that you're working on a particular area, so then like the opportunities also will come. Networking happens, more and more people will approach you, maybe for collaborative research. It can be project, it can be articles, etc. Then increased visibility is there. So when your work, as I said, it should not be for keeping in the cupboard. When you will publish it, there is visibility and inspiration for future research, maybe based on your publication or whatever you are publishing. It will inspire some other future researchers to build on your study and go further and conduct research in a different dimension, and advancement in knowledge framework and betterment of the society. So these are some of the purpose of research. And authorship. What do you understand by authorship? What is authorship, or who is an author? Have you ever came across any kind of conflicts in relation to authorship, or why is this topic even important for our discussion today? Who is an author? Please, you can put it in the chat box if any answers are there. Okay, somebody is telling that it is the author is a research problem finder and solution provider. Good. Author is someone who has made substantial intellectual contribution to the scholarly work. Very good. Right. Then who creates, originates, or contributes substantially to a. I'm getting messages, so it is moving.
Well, I can read it for you.
To a piece of intellectual or creative work. Very good. One who owns the content. An author is a person who creates and takes responsibility for the content written. Very good. So, more or less, ma'am, people here knows who is an author also. So I am also going to tell you the same explanation only. So as per the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, so it's a committee of journal editors, ICMJE. They say that, according to their definition, an author is an individual who has made substantial intellectual contribution to a scientific investigation, and the order of authorship should reflect the level of contribution made by each author. So this is something which is a step that you can take at the initial stage of discussion itself. When you are planning to work on a research, and when you are planning to proceed with a paper or whatever kind of research work, then and there itself you will have this discussion, and you will decide on what basis you will identify, or you will give this hierarchy to the author. So who becomes the main author, and who all are going to be the co-authors. So if you have this clarity from the beginning itself, there won't be any kind of conflicts in the later stage. And the first author should be a person who made the most significant contribution to the research and writing of the manuscripts. all authors should be involved in drafting or revising the manuscript and should have approved the final version, because as someone rightly pointed there, you also take the responsibility for the work whatever you are publishing. So it's a collective responsibility of each author of a paper. So now when you are publishing something, you are not checking the full manuscript or revising the full manuscript, then you won't be able to, you'll be under a what to say idea that you are responsible only for the content whatever you contributed, but that is not the case. When you are part of a publication or a manuscript and there are multiple authors, you should be, there is an accountability on you as well, whatever content you are publishing. So that's why you should be involved, every author should be involved in drafting or revising the manuscripts and should have approved the final version. This is something which, as per the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors guidelines. So, and they also say that authorship, like ICMJ recommends that authorship be based on following 4 criteria. One is substantial contribution to the conception or design of the work or acquisition, analysis, interpretation of data, etc. Drafting the work or reviewing it critically for the important intellectual content. Final approval of the version to be published. Agreement to be accountable for all aspects of the work in ensuring that questions related to the accuracy, integrity of any part of the work are appropriately investigated and resolved. So these 4 criteria, if the author is fulfilling this, based on this, you decide your authors. If there are some more people sometimes involved in your research, maybe they are not contributing to the research as a main author or as an author, but they are also part of the work. Maybe they helped you with the data analysis or maybe getting a funding, etc. So in that cases, they are not people who are contributors of your research. You acknowledge them work as non-author contributor. So now, why this authorship matters? It matters because it confers credit in the academia. So it has also social and financial implications. So we discussed initially itself what is the purpose of publication. So social and financial implications is also there. Now many institutes are also like come up with the incentive policies. There are also funding that you can get for the publications and the research work. So now based on all this, the authorship or deciding the authorship at the initial stage itself matters, and it also implies responsibility and accountability for the published work. So non-contributor author is something which I already discussed. So it can be, so one who is not falling within that above set 4 criteria, and maybe a person who simply did a supervision of the work or provided some kind of administrative support, or a data analyst with whom like you were in touch for the data analysis aspect, or somebody who helped you in getting a what to say data collection done, or someone who helped you in getting a funding for your research. These are all people who contributed to the research in one way, but not a author. So that's why you acknowledge them in your work. They are non-author contributors. Moving forward, how to avoid authorship disputes. So as I said initially, to avoid disputes over the attribution of academic credit, you decide early only. Whenever you plan for the research, initially itself you should have this clarity as to who will contribute what, who will be the first author, and who all are going to be the co-authors. But all authors will have, it's a collective responsibility. Once again, I'm telling everyone will have the responsibility over the sole content of the paper, whatever you are publishing. So now the responsibilities of the authors. So the authors must ensure that the manuscript is their original work and has not been published or submitted elsewhere. So now when a collective or a paper is having multiple authors, a manuscript is having multiple authors, and you are not evaluating, everyone is not evaluating the full paper or not taking the responsibility, it may happen that one of your partner is copying from somewhere, which will put everyone in trouble. So to avoid such situation, it is very important that you should ensure that the work is an original work. No one from your like co-authors are copy pasting or taking content or idea of someone else. So that is very important. Then proper citations and references are included for all resources. So now when you talk about the publication also, so the journals, when they give it for the good journals, not every journal, but the journals who are of international standards, or the journals who are indexed in maybe Scopus or Web of Science or ADBC, they all have their own process of review. So when we put this for the paper for review process, maybe some of you have already published with Scopus or good databases, like the journals which are indexed in good databases. So you might have received a review from their reviewer, which will also talk about your references. They cross-verify your references to ensure that the whatever content or whatever your argument you have made in your paper is taken from a reliable source, and the references are also correct. So if you don't do it, if you make some mistakes, or if there are negligible mistakes only there, in that case, they might ask you to revise it and submit. But if that is not the case, the paper is maybe AI based paper, the content is created using AI. So AI will suggest you any references, which is like something which you did not go back and check and ensure. So now in such cases, the journal can also reject your paper. So that is why it is important to cross verify the references also, or only give references of those papers you actually referred in your work. Permission is obtained for any third-party content. So if you're using a content which is taken from an already published work or some other unpublished work also, some working paper or some other work, you need to take the permission to use that figure or table for your work from the concerned organization. Ethical committee clearance is not required in every kind of research, but social science research, if it is just a research which is based on secondary sources, or it is a doctrinal type of research, you might not require ethical committee clearance. Then it is based on the university's policy and what kind of a policy your country is following. So in majority of cases where the human subjects are involved, or when you are conducting a clinical research, or research conducted by people, the medical experts, etc. So their guidelines mandates the clearance from ethical committee. Some journals also will have the criteria of submitting a clearance from ethical committee. So as per the guideline, if I talk about India has a guideline where the institutes should have, like the institutes which are conducting research where human subjects are involved, should have an ethical committee created. So if the institute is not having, there is the regional level, local level committees created by certain statutory bodies, organizations. You can get clearance from them also. That clearance is also valid. So as and when the journals, like when we are trying to publish our paper with some journal, they'll ask for ethical clearance. Either you can communicate to the journal and say that there is no involvement of human subjects, and if you can get the exemption from this clause, otherwise you can get a clearance from any such committees, local committees or the regional committees, and submit it. Informed consent from all subjects. So again, this is something which is only in case where there is human subjects are involved in your research. There, this is something which all organizations, especially the statutory bodies regulating your medical research, they mandate that there has to be a informed consent taken from the subjects. Next is self-plagiarism is minimized, avoiding excessive reuse of previous work. So if you have some work which is already published, say for example, you have done a thesis, or you have done a research during your master's or your PhD, it is already been published. So in India, it is published in the InflibNet, through InflibNet. So Shodh Ganga, there is a platform where your publication is available. So now in such cases, you cannot rely a lot on your published work, because this is already in database, it is available online. So now you cannot rely a lot on that, which will amount to self-plagiarism. So you need to limit that also and go for like maybe a new dimension objective and conduct your research there, or create new content. And according to ICMR guideline, ICMR is the Indian Council of Medical Research in India. Research and their guideline on research and publication, the researcher should be sensitive to societal and cultural values, engage and improve public trust, undertake meaningful research, be accountable to outcomes, and take needful steps to protect participants from harm or risk. And ICMR also mandates maintaining confidentiality of data also. So if human subjects are involved in your research, in addition to all this, there is also one clause which talks about the confidentiality or privacy of the data as well. Moving forward, next is plagiarism. So another responsibility of the authors is to ensure that the content or the manuscript, whatever you are submitting for publication, is free from similarity. So now there are multiple softwares for detecting the similarity. So like you have Turnitin, or these softwares are having access to multiple databases. So they'll check and find out if there are any issues of plagiarism. And in addition to that, other unethical practices like fabrication, falsification. I'll come to all these terms and we will also see what exactly this means. Manipulation of data or images, using AI and creating content. All these things are something which ghost authorship, something which is not an ethical practice. So the authors, if it is a like a paper which is written by multiple authors, if the authors should ensure that all these issues are not there in your paper, it is free from any kind of the unethical practices. So, and researcher must ensure the authenticity of research results before publishing or disseminating information out of the institution. So also the outcome needs to be cross-verified. Also, you should ensure that while selecting an article or a research paper for your research, so now any research there can, like other than the pure science streams, if it is a social science stream, you cannot have a research done without having pre-reading or depending on some kind of already published data and work. So now when you are doing or when you are selecting these articles also for your review and also for maybe establishing your research based on that, you should ensure that you're referring to a reliable source, not just the outcome of your research, also whatever paper you are referring to. So now it's a trend that you go for the SLR, systematic literature review, or we cite a lot of work in our papers. So now before selecting these papers also, we need to ensure these papers are something which is reliable. It is published with a good publisher, or it is not a fake or a predatory journal or a cloned journal. So this is also one of the issues that the academia is currently facing, the issue of predatory and cloned journals. So that also we will come later on. I'll also tell you what it is. Next is ghost authorship. I already pointed it out, and gifted authorship. These are also not something which is allowed. It is ethically wrong. So you need to also see to it that you are not indulging in any kind of ghost authorship. Means you ask someone else to author on behalf of you. So that person's name, there is a significant contribution from a person, but his name or her name is not reflected in your manuscript. So now that is something which it's kind of you pay people and appoint them to write on behalf of you. That is also something which is considered to be an unethical practice. Now the other issues in relation to authorship. So one is guest authorship. So now here there is a trend in academia that if you have a well-known name, you can get your work easily published. So now this publication has become it is creating a lot of stress in the academia also, because many of the institutes are having this criteria that the PhD scholars should have minimum 2 Scopus publications. So now Scopus has their own criteria for accepting a publication also. Especially this issue is with the social science streams or the disciplines where you don't go for an empirical research. So now when there is no original data or field study based data, or the journals will have their own criteria, it becomes very difficult to get your work published. So now it is creating some kind of pressure on people, and they'll have to to see to it that some kind of arrangement they'll make to get their work published. And also with the university ranking system, whatever now we have started in India, we have something called as NIRF, National Institutional Ranking system. So now, because of all this, there is a pressure on every academician also that you should have more and more publication, and it is also for your promotion. So your appraisal also requires some kind of publication and research score. So now here what become the problem is that when the databases like Scopus, Web of Science, etc., when they are not accepting your paper, you need to find out different ways to get your work published there. So majority of people either go for paid publications. Another one type of method that people use is guest authorship. So you find out a person maybe who has a very good research credential and just keep his name in your paper, but there is no contribution from that person. This is just to ensure that you will get a publication. Or you find out your somebody who is having some kind of influence, or the vice chancellor of a university, somebody who is holding a position who can ensure that publication for you. Or you will get into a negotiation and agreement with someone, and he will get you he is having some kind of networking with a journal, he will get the publication for you, but he will not contribute anything in your paper, but you give you acknowledge his work and you give him the authorship in your paper. So this is something which is an unethical practice which we are not supposed to do, even for PhD scholar. So now in our university, many of the professors, they don't allow the PhD scholar to keep their name also. And because there is an understanding that when you are doing a PhD publication, you should keep the guide's name or supervisor's name, which is not the case. It is always based on the contribution. So if there is a contribution from the PhD scholar, you can, the PhD supervisor, you can go ahead and keep the name. Otherwise, it is not necessary that you should keep the name also, because no guideline is saying that it is mandatory. So now, in the absence of any such thing, we cannot even interpret it in such a way that which amounts to some kind of unethical practice and exploitation. On the other hand, if the scholar is not publishing something which is right, or if there is a wrong information, or analysis is not right, or the work is biased, along with that, the supervisor is also will have to take the responsibility, accountability. It is not just the scholar, also the supervisor. So that's why in our university, the many of the professors are not encouraging their scholars to keep their name in the work if they are not contributing to the work. Next is artificial intelligence authorship. So this is something which I already said. You rely on the AI-based platforms like ChatGPT, ChatPDF, etc., or Grok. There are so many such platforms developed now. So now these platforms can be used for research in a wise way, but not like this. So ChatGPT, you can do coding in ChatGPT and create that code can be copy pasted to another AI, which is called Draw AI, create very good flow charts and use in your research. But ChatGPT should not be used for creating your content. So that is something, because now we don't have any regulation. So none of the national regulatory bodies or any other international organizations are also not talking about how much AI you can have in your paper or something like that. Maybe the journals are having their own criteria. Otherwise, the institutions are maybe not regulating it. It is up to the faculties, or it is up to the supervisors to regulate this. But this is a wrong practice where you use the AI-based softwares for creating your content. But you can use the AI-based softwares instead for maybe selecting the literature. So there is a platform called as Pepperity.com .in, which can be used for SLR. Like you can shortlist some particular years papers and you can use them. So the software will give you, use keyword and look for it. It will give you paper in a particular year, and there are multiple ways. The filters are there. You can filter it, you can restrict it into one country only. You can also use multiple keywords and go for different publications in relation to your broader area of research. So these are for these kind of activities, you can use these platforms. Maybe also for analysis, you need some kind of softwares and like AI-based softwares also. It is allowed, but not for creating your content. So some journals also allow such creations, but they ask you to like give a disclaimer and acknowledge it, and also tell them what all parts are created using AI. But in academia, this is not a very appreciated practice. If we can avoid creating content using artificial intelligence softwares, it is well and good. Next, honorary and gift authorship. So this has been defined as authorship based solely on a questionable affiliation with study. So salient example would be authorship based on one's position as the head of department in which the study took place. So now, in case of some projects and all, like universities get projects, people, faculties write to organizations, funding agencies, and they bring projects just because that project is maybe related to one sender's expertise area, or just because it is under the university and there is a vice chancellor or a director or a dean or a head academics or somebody or head research, doesn't mean that you will have to include his name also as part of the project. So the project or whatever work we are doing, if it is a collective work or some scientific research, you are initiating from the department, and it is not necessary that the head's name should be there in the project when he or she is not contributing to the work. That is again something which is considered to be an like unethical practice. Ghost authorship we already discussed. Authorship for sale is also nothing but you take money and you write paper for others. This is again a business now, a booming business now in the academia. So they, not just authorship, they also do the thesis writing, thesis editing. There are places where if you go there, they will produce any work for you, and you can pay some amount to them, whatever amount that they are demanding, and so like get your work. So this is again something which is not considered to be an ethical practice. Again, this is something which maybe the institution may not be in a position to identify or find out. It is about your own practice, your own, what to say, qualities. This is something which is within you, what you want to do, what you want to practice. So now everything cannot be regulated with guidelines or with law or with regulation. That becomes difficult because this is something which is a human behavior, and ethics should be something which is inculcated in your practice. It cannot be taught to people. It cannot be, there can be awareness and sessions like this to highlight the importance of it. Again, it is up to the person, and it changes from person to person. Then anonymous authorship, because the authorship should be transparent. As I said, all authors are required to take the accountability, but there are, in some cases, people will tell that they will give idea, they'll write for you, they'll work on behalf of you, but they'll ask you to keep not keep the name in the paper, or keep their identity as or some cases people also write in different names, not in their own name or their identity. They don't disclose their identity, they use pseudo names. So that also becomes very problematic, because whom do you make accountable for in such case and such kind of publications? So both these kind of practices, or using a different name or a pen name, and if the pen name, like it is not to, like if people are aware that this is pen name of XYZ person who is working with XYZ organization, it is fine. But you are not giving your proper credentials and keep publishing, that also becomes problematic, and it is not a ethical practice. These are all issues that we are currently facing. Now, group authorship, we already discussed. So when there are multiple people coming together to create a paper, so now like maybe people collaborated for a project, and as a result of project, and we know that project is a huge responsibility. It is not just like a article or a research paper. So projects means maybe your family is going to be a bigger one, the geographical area that you are going to choose for the research is going to be a bigger one. If I am talking about the science, social science research, but scientific research also, there is some kind of experiment is involved. You are doing a clinical clinical trial, and based on which you are coming up with a publication or your report, whatever it is. And based on this study you are planning to publish, there are multiple people, because you need more and more people or involvement of more researchers in such kind of activities. So now in this also, like, you should have this understanding about who will become the first author. So it is again based on the contribution of the people. So now this consensus should be there from the beginning itself. In case of deceased or incapacitated author, so somebody was working with you and in a paper, or there is a publication and the person is no more. He is no more, or he is having some incapacity due to which he cannot contribute anymore to the paper. So in such cases, you need to approach the legal heir or proxy of the person, family of the person, and if there are any copyright or any licensing or anything is required, you need to proceed further with all those requirements also. So you cannot completely you cannot go ahead and publish if the person is no more, thinking that okay, he is no more and he doesn't have any right over the intellectual work whatever he contributed. Instead, you should be contacting his legal heirs and taking their consent before you further proceed with the work. So now some of the unethical practices which we should be knowing, and we should know how to overcome this also in the academia. One becomes plagiarism, then biasness in research, fabrication and falsification, salami slicing, duplicate publication, copyright infringement, use of AI, I already discussed, then predatory journals, and also clone journals. So these are all like grievous threat that the academia is going through now. So we will take up one by one. The first issue is plagiarism. What is plagiarism? Do you have any idea what is plagiarism? Plagiarism?
We had a session day before yesterday fully about plagiarism.
Okay, you had a session on plagiarism. So can anyone tell me what is plagiarism?
And different kinds of plagiarism he explained, Dr. Ashoka.
That's great, ma'am.
10 different plagiarism plus self-plagiarism, translation plagiarism, all that it was explained to the participants.
Okay, that's nice. You are also learning with them, I guess. Plagiarism is copying, unethical theft of intellectual property. Theft of intellectual property, okay. Copying or other blindly copy and paste one's paper similar to others' works or idea. Okay, very good. So you all know what is plagiarism. So now plagiarism means it is the act of producing and presenting someone else's work, or maybe a part of someone else's work, as your own work. So now we are not acknowledging their work. So now there is a publication. You maybe copy paste from that publication. A part is verbatim you copy pasted, and you create it in your, or you paste it in your work as if this work is done by you, and you are not even acknowledging that person of his work. So that is plagiarism. So now there are different types. Direct plagiarism is copy pasting the verbatim. So now there are certain exemptions. So now when the faculties or people who are working in research, I know that there are some faculties also as part of the workshop. So now when you are working, and you know that you must be having access to Turnitin. Here in India, we also have Drillbit. This is something which UGC mandated software that we get through InFlipNet. So now when we are using all these softwares, we can exclude certain things from counting as similarity. So which includes something which is kept in court, means something which is said by some of the philosophers, or like whatever work you are referring, and you want to verbatim copy paste something which is said by Mahatma Gandhi. So there's no question of paraphrasing it or writing it in your own words. So you want to reproduce it as it is only. So that is something which is allowed. And when we are doing the plagiarism check, we exclude that from counting as similarity. Similarly, the judgments. So now when I am a law faculty. So when our people, our students or our faculties are writing a paper, we want to copy paste apart from a judgment where the court is telling about something. Say, for example, the court is talking about constitutional morality. This is a concept that the court brought in one of the recent judgment. So now what the judge said is something which I need to copy paste verbatim. So I can put that in the quotation mark, and which is excluded from the similarity. So when the software is looking for similarity, it will not count as similarity. Similarly, also the provisions of a legislation. So now Article 21 of Constitution, I want to mention while discussing about the paper. So now Article 21 is copy pasted in my paper. So I can put that in quotation mark because it is something which is allowed. Otherwise, verbatim copy paste from another person's work or secondary source is something which is not allowed. Self-plagiarism. So plagiarizing or copy pasting from your own work. So now that is also something which is not allowed. Then again, this is based on the institution's policies also. Some institutions allow that. Some institutions doesn't allow. Like for a research also, for a master's, you took a topic and you want to continue doing research on the same topic for your PhD. Some institutions allow you to continue. Some institution doesn't, saying that there will be chances of self-plagiarism. So that is another issue. Mosaic plagiarism is paraphrasing another person's work. So now this is the easy practice that you can have because of all the AI-based platform. So now you are copy pasting from one article and you are asking the ChatGPT to rewrite that for you. And the ChatGPT will do paraphrasing and you are pasting it in your work. So again, you're not citing it because this is something which you took from another person. So it's an idea of another researcher which you are not acknowledging, becomes the mosaic plagiarism. And also not just ChatGPT, Chat PDF is also another platform where people upload PDF and ask the Chat PDF to give the summary of the work. It produces that is for literature review and all. I know that the students and the scholars use these platforms, which is not a right practice. It is always expected that you read, understand, and reproduce whatever is given in the work and have your own ideas also in the deliberation. So you can talk about what is the central point of argument by the author, whether you agree with it, you disagree with it, or what is the other author on the same area is thinking about. All these things you can discuss, but not by copy pasting or creating this content through a software. Instead, you should be reading and recreating or rewriting it in your own words. So now, why do students plagiarize is a question that we all will have in mind. So one is, as I said, the pressure that the academia is creating sometimes. So there is a mandate for doing research, and research is something which is not everyone's cup of tea. So somebody is having an inclination towards research, they enjoy doing research, they'll do it. But when you mandate students to write a paper and submit, and there is a mark, 100 mark, which is given for that. So now there, it becomes difficult. So now in UG level, if you say that writing a paper is mandatory, so now they don't have any option other than doing it. They are also dependent on their parents. They are also they also want to settle in the life, so they want to get through this process of UG and get into some job. So they don't want to fail. So now they don't have any other option other than doing it. So they don't know how to do it. They will end up copy pasting from here and there. So now proper training is not there on how to do research. That also becomes one of the issue that we are facing in academia. But PhD and all, you know that you're supposed to do a research. You opt for it, you go for it because you want to be maybe in academia, or otherwise also you're aware that one component or the major component is going to be your thesis. So now knowingly you are taking this decision to enroll yourself into PhD. So there you had a choice, you still went ahead and registered yourself. But UG students and all, when you mandate it without any other component where they feel comfortable or they can go with some innovative component, then they're forced and they'll end up doing plagiarism. So don't know how to research is one of the criteria. Second, don't know how to cite properly. So now again, there are softwares which will make your life easy if you learn those softwares for citation. You don't have to learn every citation style, because one journal asks you to submit your manuscript in one citation style. When they reject your paper, you want to go ahead and submit the paper to another journal, they'll have a different citation style. So now GNLU follows Scholar, maybe some other university law school follows Blue Book citation style. So someone else will ask you for Vancouver. If it is medicine, they'll ask for Vancouver. Someone else will ask for APA. So now you keep changing, or you need to learn a lot of citation styles to manually do it. Instead, you can learn these softwares and make your life easy. And those softwares are softwares which is used for proper research and collaborative research, and also for the citation. I will show that also. Then don't understand plagiarism concept only. So students, sometimes they don't understand, they don't know what exactly is plagiarism or similarity. So that's why they are doing it. And they also have this doubt that whether they are doing it in the right way or not, because they don't know what is research. Sometimes teachers doesn't enforce ethical standards or criteria in class. So now I also told my first year students to write and submit a review of one article. There I gave them a guideline as to how to do it, also took a session and how to do it, what are my expectations, and what is going to be the rubrics or the criteria for marking is something which I already shared with them. So now they have this clarity as to how to do it and what are the expectations, etc., etc. So when this is not set in class, when the ethical standards are not taken care of, when you are not saying no to the students, they'll end up doing all this. Then some students also think that it is okay to do it. It's a cool when, like, they want to be cool. So for that purpose also they end up doing all these unethical practices. So now how can the educators prevent this? One is the teachers should be first educated about plagiarism. So now these kind of FDPs or mandatory FDPs, whatever the statutory bodies are saying, becomes or plays a very important role, so that the teachers are educated first and they can also educate their students. You have to enforce the standards. You have to tell them what are your expectations. Maybe some of you are PhD scholars here, but tomorrow if you are getting into academia, you should know that how to say no, how to fix your rules in class, and making this part clear to the students that I will deduct the mark if there is similarity or plagiarized content. And this is my criteria. Here in India, UGC allows below 10%. The criteria is below 10% similarity. So in my guideline, even I have kept 10% similarity, and no AI generated content is my criteria. So you can also fix your criteria like that. The classroom policies, and have the students practice proper citation. So you can tell them it's not possible for us like subject teachers to teach them how to use softwares or how to do citation. Instead, you can tell them to explore these YouTube videos. There are multiple videos on the importance of citation, as well as how to use. There are like softwares like Mendeley, EndNote, Zotero. So how to use these softwares for doing the citation. So they can learn from these softwares and the YouTube videos and inculcate this practice in their academic culture. Now, with reference to the academic like disintegrity and plagiarism, so I was looking into the guidelines of UGC of Sri Lanka, because one of the topic which is given to me under the discussion today, for the discussion today, is also the practices or the rules regulating the unethical practices or the in relation to research or the guidelines of Sri Lanka. So now the action against plagiarism as per the chapter of UGC guideline on disciplinary procedure, which says that prompt action. So swiftly address the alleged plagiarism violation using existing disciplinary rules. But I somehow did not come across something which clearly says that what is the allowed limit and how that needs to be dealt with. But in India, we have a guideline which says that for 10%, up to 10% is something something which is allowed limit. If it is more than 10%, what are the steps that the teachers or the ethical committee should take? So we can ask the student to rewrite and submit and give some time for the student. Likewise, there are guidelines even for the faculties if they are committing plagiarism in their manuscripts. Custom rules, if the current rules are inadequate, universities or the institution can create effective plagiarism complaint mechanism and initiate investigation is something which the guidelines say. So now they have kept it open for the universities or higher education institutions to have their own policies and criteria in place and regulate the plagiarism. So now the problem is that every institution might not follow it. So the problem that we are facing with reference to the effectiveness of any legislation or regulation, rule, etc., is that there is poor implementation or no implementation or no awareness. So now this also will become like that one what to say area where people are either not aware or not serious about it. They might not do it. So that is one criteria. Just a minute, I need to take one call. Hello. Okay, the way classes are conducted as per schedule, I am in a session. Thank you. Yeah. So now, reporting. So plagiarism by campus, institute staff should be reported to the affiliated university, something which the guideline says. Then it is majorly dealing with the plagiarism related issues of the faculties. Transparent process, ensure objective, transparent inquiries with a panel including either retired professor or a judicial officer adhering to the principles of natural justice. Means the person against whom the alleged plagiarism is there should also be given a chance to be heard. He should also given a chance to represent his case before the panel. Then electronic evidence. Accept the evidence from plagiarism detection software as admissible in inquiries is something which the guidelines say. So if there is a the Turnitin creates a report which says that there is so and so percentage of plagiarism, this is accepted as an electronic evidence before the inquiry commission is something which the guideline says. Punishment, impose appropriate penalties for plagiarism is something which they again said. So again, it is kept open for the universities or the higher education institutions to come up with the their own guidelines and like punishments, penalties for regulating the unethical practice or plagiarism related issues within the campuses or the universities. I'm not sure if there are anything like some office notifications or anything, but I could not find anything from the UGC Sri Lanka website on like specific guideline on regulating the plagiarism. Now, how to avoid this? So as I already told you that citation is the acknowledging the work is the best method. So citations acknowledge the use of someone else's work. It also serves as a roadmap to your research process as well. Whenever you use books, journals, websites, you need to credit the original author. It's not just books, journals, or websites. Whatever we refer to, even if you're watching a documentary and based on that you are including a content in your paper, like cite that work also. It can be a report, it can be a website. If it is a website, see to it that you will also mention the last day on which you visited the website, because maybe you are doing a research in 2025 and 10 years later somebody is referring to your work and the website might not have the same content. So now it is required that you should also give this data as well, that when you visited that website last, so last accessed on so and so date is something which you will mention after the citation along with your citation. So now different subject disciplines have different citation styles. I know that majority of people here must be knowing about it. There are different citation styles like Chicago, APA, MLA, Vancouver. There is Harvard University style. Then there is something called as Blue Book. There is something called as Oscola. So there are multiple types of citation styles. So it usually consists of the details of the author, the title of the book or article or journal, whatever you are like citing, date of publication, page numbers if applicable, and volume and issue numbers for the articles. So now these are the common information that we give in our citation. So now functions, what are the functions? Why is it important? So it gives credit to others for their the authors for their work. So now when you are referring to someone else's work, you are acknowledging his idea or his work, whatever you used in your research. It will also add credibility to your work by showing that you have done a very extensive research. So now the more the number of like citations, only cite them only if you use this for your work. Don't cite unnecessarily just to show that you like say that it is a credible work. It's not like that. The publisher will also cross verify. So, but when you are referring to number of work, it will actually increase the credibility of your work also. Then like also it will show that your work is related to some previous work and help the readers find further information. Say for example, I am taking a different area, but which is like another future researcher is like also intending to do a research into the same area, but into a different dimension, or he or she is having a different objective. But again, the references, whatever I am having in my paper, can be useful for that researcher. So that person also might rely on this reference list and go and read those work and find out whether it is useful for him or not. So now this is something which we already discussed. What to cite? You have to cite every fact that you are taking from a work, figures, ideas, any information that is taken from another person's work, then words, theories, exact language that another person used in their publication, then books, book chapters, articles, web pages, etc. So another person's exact word should not be quoted and cited to show proper credit. It should be quoted and cited to show the proper credit. And example, like a part of a judgment can be cited like that. Verbatim, you can copy paste, which is allowed, but it should be put in the quotation mark, and the citation also should be given. Avoiding plagiarism. So to avoid plagiarism, you will always give the credit to the other person, or you will always cite the work. So now the why the accuracy of references are important. So this is something which I already told, because the publisher will cross verify this with your actual references with your content, and if they have found that your references are not matching the content, or you are misrepresenting the references, means you are approaching a topic with a biased mind. Again, that biasness in a researcher becomes a threat to the academic research. So it is again a practice or unethical practice, and you need to overcome that biasness. Say for example, I am having a feminist ideology and I want to do a research. I am shortlisting an area. Say for example, I want to do a research to understand why there is a declination of participation of women in the labor force in India. So when I'm looking at the female participation in the labor force, or their contribution in GDP, I see that they are not like there is a difference, disparity in the number of male working and the number of female working. So I'm already having this biased mindset that I am a person having feminist thought process. So now when I looked at this topic, my this thought process, whatever it is. So as a researcher, I should be approaching this topic with a neutral mindset now. But my biasness or whatever is my thought process, because I already did a lot of research into this area and the feminist ideologies. Now I will have, when I frame my questions, I frame my objectives, this biasness is something which I cannot remove. So as a researcher, that is the wrong thing. So now I need to detach this biasness from me and have a neutral approach in my research. That is something which is much appreciated. So now, that is one thing. Then when all those work, like when you are citing someone's work and you are trying to give this for publication to other, like it often happens that you cited some person's work in your like paper, and he is the one who is going to review your paper. So it can also happen because you are writing about, say for example, access to healthcare is my area. I am writing a paper on this, and I am quoting a person who is well-known researcher from this area and submitting this to like Scopus Index Journal. Maybe the Scopus Index Journal have this one person as the peer reviewer, and when he is looking at my paper, if I have misrepresented his work, there are high chances that my paper will get rejected. So to avoid all such situations, you should always keep these things in mind. So now, how to make this, or how to make your academic life easy, or the citation easy? The best tool, best thing is to use these tools, whatever is mentioned here. If you have access to any of it, Mendeley, EndNote, Zotero, इसमें other than EndNote, both the other softwares are free softwares. You can take some time to explore these softwares. Like it is available, YouTube videos must be there on how to use Mendeley and how to use Zotero. You can look into them and try to, maybe majority of the participants here are already using it. If you want a 2 minutes demonstration, I can also show that how to do research using that. So these platforms are very useful. How? Because you can import citations to these um, uh, platforms. Like they also provide you a cloud where you can save your work. Like you can keep your articles. So you create your folder and you keep adding your library, your materials to this particular platform. And when you are planning to cite your work, you can take the, like you can use this platform. This is again useful for collaborative research as well. You can create group and multiple people can work on the same paper at a time. You can have your annotations there. You can highlight the part. You can keep notes for the other readers. So now they will also have access to the same folder, and they can also see your comments, and that collaborative work becomes very easy if you use these kind of platforms. In addition, you can also use this platform for citing your work. So now manual entry and editing of your citation is not required when you are having knowledge of these platforms. Citation can be organized in a proper way. So now, like some citation style, like APA and all, you need to arrange them. It is the end note, like towards the end, you will have the references, and it will have to be alphabetically arranged. So if you're going for a manual citation, it becomes very problematic. So when you are using any of these kind of platforms, it is very easy. Then you can also share your citation. It is also generated automatically. So do you know how this Mendeley platform works? Anyone? Is there anyone who knows Mendeley platform works? If you can quickly put this in the your chat box. Anyone? So I'll just show you quickly how to use this platform. So now I am switching to another device where I have this Mendeley downloaded and installed. So now for some time, I'll just stop sharing the screen and I will show you how to do it. So now I'll share my screen. You can go to Mendeley website and download Mendeley app for Windows, as well as there is Mendeley. You can also install it into your Word if you want to use Mendeley for citation as well. And so now I will share my screen and show you. So now this is my Mendeley desktop app. It looks like this. Here you will see that multiple folders are created. I hope this is visible. So multiple folders you can see here. So you will see the title also. So now I have created multiple folders because I conduct research on all these areas. These are all research related to some of the projects or whatever paper I was working on. So now if I go to child rights, so there are two like articles which is added. I'll show you a recent folder. STEM and law in sustainability. See, so I have all this work added to my Mendeley page. So now, if you also create, and these are all groups, see, whatever you see in the left hand side, these are all groups where I am working on this with multiple other people. So there is something on faculty seed grant, IUCN, then NCW, Jodhpur, Aurangabad. I hope everyone can see this. These are all groups that I created, and multiple people are having access to it. And along with me, some other people are also working on these folders. So it becomes easy for you to collaborate with people and work. So now when I click on this, you will see that on the right hand side says it's a journal article, the name of the article, everything has come here, right? So now whenever I am, so when I import my Mendeley like web importer to my Chrome, I can read the articles from any reliable source and keep adding those articles to my folder from there only. So the web importer will allow me to do this. And when I am supposed to cite, so now I'll show you how I will cite. I will share a paper that I'm working on currently. So now this is a paper me and another faculty is working. So now you don't see any citations here because for submitting this paper, we are considering a journal where the Harvard citation style is like required, and they want in-text citation, and towards the end there is references. So whatever in my paper you see here, see IPCC 2023 is a citation that I already cited here. And towards the end, what I will do is now I've inserted the references here. So now the Mendeley software allows me to do that. So I go to references. So the citation style is already selected here. And as and when I am writing something, so I will give you an example by doing it here. So here I want to cite IPCC only. I'll take IPCC, insert citation. So in my word, the Mendeley is already installed. So that's why it is allowing me to do it. So I'll write IPCC. So my library is showing me all work where IPCC word is there. So coastal vulnerability assessment using analytical hierarchical process is something which I want to cite. I click on this and okay, automatically the paper will have my citation. So now you can see Mahapatra et al. To 2015. Right? If anyone can tell me through any, I hope the paper is visible. So this is here, right? So now this is how we do it. So now I have changed my mind. I don't want to submit my paper to this journal. I am planning to submit it into another journal, whether OSCOLA is the citation criteria. I simply click on OSCOLA. The citation style will get changed. Now you will see that my paper will have citations towards the end. See, I hope for everyone it is visible. So this is how like it will save your time. You don't have to sit and manually change your citation. If you learn Mendeley, it's a very user-friendly platform. Only issue is that it is compatible only with Word 2016 and above. Otherwise, it's a very like you can easily learn this. You can keep adding. You can download also materials and add yours. So now I want to go back to the Harvard reference only. So I did that. Now these citations will disappear from here and it went back to the previous stage. So this is how we use this platform for citation, and it will also help you to avoid plagiarism and unethical issues. And also when we are looking for materials, so now there is a button like here, add button is here. So I can add work from this part to my this one Mendeley library. So now I click on this. I will say open. This will be added to my Mendeley platform. So now if I sync this, if I click on this and sync, it will actually also reflect in my Mendeley cloud. So even if I am working online, it will be available. So now this publication. So this is something which, no, not this one. It is still surfing. So now it will take some time to add, but it will be added and reflected here, and we can use the platform like that. So I hope this is useful, and everyone will like those who have not explored this platform so far will explore and try to take it. So now I'll go back to the slide, and we will continue with our discussion. So now the other issues in relation to the academic publication and research is fabrication. So what is fabrication? Creating false data or results and recording or reporting them as if they were obtained through legitimate research. So now many researchers are using all these AI platforms to create fabricated data, which is an unethical practice. Then so you will lose your credibility if once the publisher or your institution or funding agency comes to know about it. So now I had one experience back in 2021. I appointed a RA for a data collection, and I was thinking, so it was during COVID time, and we were not coming to university also regularly. So now this time she was supposed to there were no complete ban on mobility also, but we restarted, but we were allowed to take classes online also. Now she was supposed to visit places and to take data, and I got to know in a later stage that she was not visiting the places and doing it sitting at college and simply filling herself the form. So now these are all situations where it will put you also in trouble because the funding agency is funding your project. So now you have to take some step to ensure ethical practices also. Then we had to do the full research, again data collection, again falsification, manipulating the existing research data. As I said, you have a pre-decided mind, and you want to, or your hypothesis is something, it says something, and you want to prove it. So the understanding is that the hypothesis is not proved. The research is not a good research. It's not like that. Whatever is the data, you have to ethically produce it. You cannot manipulate the data to prove your hypothesis. That becomes a bad research. Instead, you should approach the research with a neutral mindset, and whatever the data says, that you have to produce the same way. You cannot, because I have a feminist ideology, doesn't mean that even if the data says otherwise, if it says that patriarchy is not a reason for declination of participation, women participation in the female workforce, I cannot say that change the data whatever I collected, and I cannot edit the data to prove whatever I said is right. So that is falsification. Salami slicing. So what the researchers do is we conduct research for one purpose, and there are data collected and objectives are there. Now we will slice it into pieces for multiple publication. So that is also something which is considered to be a bad practice. So now one data or one work which should be used for one publication only. So now your objectives are something which is for one research, and you have a funded project or whatever it is, whatever you publish from that should be like one single publication. You cannot slice it into pieces and have multiple publication is something which this is something which COPE said. The Committee for the Publication Ethics is saying, it's an international organization which says that this is something publication or attempted publication of whole or substantial part of work data analysis that have already been published without transparency or appropriate declaration or referencing is something which is not allowed. So it is nothing but breaking up or segmenting data from a single study and creating different manuscripts. Another issue that we are facing is in relation to duplicate publication. So because of the academic pressure, whatever we are facing currently, what we do is that we end up submitting our papers to multiple publications to ensure publication within some time period. So now what happens, sometimes both the publishers will publish it. So this becomes an issue. I came across that kind of an issue. Somebody submitted a paper to our journal also, and she got it published outside also. So now it becomes an unethical practice which is not appreciated in academia. So now COPE says that duplicate publications must be retracted. The journal can remove it, and duplicate submissions, if the publisher gets to know about it, they can reject such submissions is something which they're saying. Next is copyright. What is copyright? Any idea? Can anyone tell me? Copyright? Okay, we don't have much time. I will only tell now. So copyright is a right which is granted to the creator of the intellectual property. It can be any literary work, dramatic work, musical work, artistic work, etc. So usually cinematographic film, or it is also granted for some computer programs and software. So in our case, it is the literary work. So now in the form of book or in the form of article, whatever we publishes. So now when we use this work, and this is granted for a period of 60 years of the granted for a period of lifetime plus 60 years of the 60 years post the death of the author is something which the Copyright Act says. So now your lifetime plus another 60 years after your death is also the copyright is granted to you. So now if someone is using a copyrighted work, maybe somebody is reproducing the work. So maybe in another language without taking the consent of the author, creates or derivate the work or derivative work or distributes the work, etc. So now there is a book which is published with Taylor and Francis, and somebody is engaging in like a person who is running a copy shop, like Xerox shop, is taking prints of one book. Book is very expensive. It is costing around maybe 10,000 rupees. He is copying the book, and the university is also mandating students to purchase the book from the person, and he is selling the books without permission of the company, publisher, or the author. So these are all things which amounts to infringement of copyright. It can be reproduction of the work, or you are converting the book into another language, whatever it is, without the permission of the author, creating a derivative of the work, or distribute the work. So now this is a when we talk about plagiarism, it is violation of academic norms, whereas copyright is an illegal act. So it is something which is a punishable offense, whereas in case of plagiarism, it is just a wrong that the person is doing against the author. The institutional level mechanisms can happen. People can take the faculties or the university or higher education institution can take action against you. Whereas in case of copyright, it is a punishable offense, and you can be even brought before the court in case of the infringement of copyright. Next important aspect is the predatory journal. So you might have came across a lot of public publishers. They keep writing to you. We are a Scopus publication. Give your paper to us. We will publish. And we will like give you customized service. Means if you want publication in 1 month, they will publish. If you want publication in 15 days, they will publish, and there is a different amount that they charge from you. And also they will tell that we can get the publication indexed in Scopus, Web of Science, or any other XYZ like indexing. Whatever you want, there is a different amount that they'll mention. These journals don't go with them. They are all fake journals, and if you're publishing with them, then there is no value. You are wasting your research or your hard work there. It won't be counted anywhere. So now there are studies which says that there is a growing, like it is mushrooming industry now. So by 2015, the study conducted by published in American Journal of Medicine said that more than 10,000 predatory journals were there globally. So in February 2021, Crest researchers also conducted a in-depth analysis using Elsevier citation and databases, along with Elsevier is the company publisher which maintains your Scopus database. So their finding says that approximately 2% of the articles published between 2015 to 2017, in relation to the health sciences, were suspected predatory journals, and likewise they're giving data of other life sciences and social sciences also. Now, notably, when examining the geographical distribution, they found that maximum such journals are originated from China. So it is 11.7% of the total predatory journals are from China. We also have one experience because there was one conference where they promised Scopus publication, and at that time I was just a beginner and I wasn't aware of this predatory journal concept only. We ended up, like they said that for the conference there is fees, and this is the fee, and the work will be published in a Scopus journal. We submitted the paper, but it was a predatory cloned journal. So now how you will identify the predatory journal? What are the common features? They will not have a rigorous peer review process. So 15 days publication means there is no peer review which is happening. No academician is free that they'll do peer review within 10 days and give the journal a confirmation. And we also know about our research work and the quality. So that is also something which we need to analyze before going ahead with such journals. And next one is aggressive solicitation. They keep emailing you, publish with us, publish with us. That is another thing. Low or no publication standards. If you look at, they'll also have a website and web page and everything. If you go there and look at their publications, you will find that they are having all low quality papers. False or misleading information will be there. So if you check the journal page and you will go to check the editor in chief, etc., it will be those people may not exist, or there won't be any criteria or any details about those editor in chief and editors details. Then they will also charge you high publication fee. Now, next is cloned journals. Another issue, they'll have a journal. So now there are journals which are indexed in Scopus or Web of Science, and you also have a list. They'll create a journal page with same ISSN and the name, but it will also mention that it is indexed in Scopus, XYZ, etc. But if you look at the scope of the journal, if you look at the editors, the list, if you check the publisher list, and if the Scopus is giving the link to the home page, if you go through that, it will take you to the original page. But when you go for like Google search, you use the search engine for identifying such journals, it will take you to the cloned page. So this is another issue because they use some algorithm, and the search engine will first show you the cloned journal page only, and we end up publishing with the cloned journal where our publication will not have any value at all. So now when future researchers are also referring to these papers, their research also will not have any value. So that's why this is also very important. I'll just show one example here. So now So this is in India we have this UGC like consortium of UGC maintains a page where they also provide the list of cloned journals. So I'm just showing you this. When you open, so this side it is whatever you see is this. So this list is provided. You can also refer to it because it is Scopus index. The journals indexed in Scopus is something which is saying for every country. So now if you click on this page, it will take you to a page, and whereas you have the same name, another journal created, that is the clone journal. So this is a clone journal, whereas this one is the original journal. So when you check the journal page itself, you will identify, you will understand the difference. So now here, when you like this journal page will give you more information and their scope is different. Whereas in this, they'll tell that it is a multidisciplinary journal. We will accept every paper. So if it is a journal for social science, especially if it is for law, they'll also accept a paper from an engineering person. So now the scope itself, they are not following the scope means the Elsevier is like reviewing the journal list every 3 months. So if they are not maintaining this and compromising on the quality, they'll immediately remove this from their indexing only. So now that is something which is not possible. The scope and etc. are something which they need to follow. So now you can check with the original source, or you can also go to Scopus list and see whether it is listed or not. So now this page itself will also give you like take you to the Scopus source also. So now here also you can check and ensure that the list you can download from by clicking on this, or you can search using this area filters Dalke. You can also see whether this journal is indexed or not. So now these are all certain issues in relation to the unethical practices that we are facing in the academia. So now the next aspect that I was supposed to discuss is about the integrity at Sri Lanka. So now we don't have time. I'll not take much time now. So now the publication. So I have not come across anything like much like deliberations on plagiarism and all. But these publications, multiple publications, so I am referring to one Kodikara and Kumara here. So they are saying that university students are lacking awareness on plagiarism, and there are multiple issues of plagiarism that even Sri Lanka is coming across. And they also went on to say that ignorantia juris non excusat. So this is a legal maxim. So means the ignorance of law is not an excuse. So when the law says or the guideline says that you are not supposed to plagiarize, you are not supposed to do plagiarism in your work, so that you cannot claim the defense of not knowing the law is something which they are trying to say. And also they are saying that the students commonly displayed the dishonesty, and there are multiple reasons they are highlighting. It can be the pressure that they are undergoing, they're dependent on the parents, they want to get through the education and settle in their life, etc., etc. They were mentioned in that. But when we talk about the guidelines on the ethics, etc., and where global standard vis-a-vis the global standards, I have not come across much guidelines other than whatever you have for the clinical trials, because that is one area you need regulation because human subjects are involved. So now starting from the Nuremberg Code and also the Helsinki's Code, every country is having their guidelines in place as far as the clinical trial is concerned. And I'm sure that ma'am was telling me that you already had discussion on, like whatever discussion in the previous classes you had was on, or the speakers were talking about the medical regulatory authority and their guidelines. So in Sri Lanka also you have the National Medicine Regulatory Authority, and they have come up with this guideline for the conduct of clinical trials in Sri Lanka, and they emphasize on taking approval from all these bodies mentioned here. So obtaining regulatory approval from Clinical Trials Evaluation Committee, National Medicines Regulatory Authority, then ethical clearance from Ethics Review Committee. Then there is no objections or approval should be taken from the head of the institution and trial sites, etc. And also registering the study in the Sri Lanka Clinical Trials Registry. And this guideline went on to talk about the approvals or the CTEC approvals required in cases where for other categories where the unregistered medicines, the research is on unregistered medicines, or registered medicines where proposed clinical trial is outside of the conditions of registration. So that may include indications or clinical use, target patient population, difference in all these aspects. And in addition to that, it also went on to discuss about the constitution of all these committees, and they have also provisions in relation to informed consent. For any such clinical trial, informed consent becomes mandatory, not just in Sri Lanka, in any other country, part of the country also. The subjects of the research should be informed about what kind of a research or what kind of a clinical trial they are undergoing, and it has to be conducted only after certain stages of the research, and also confidentiality. The data related confidentiality, identity related confidentiality needs to be maintained, and it also becomes legally important, because most of the countries have now also recognized the right to privacy and the confidentiality as their constitutional right. So that's it from my side. Thank you so much for being wonderful, patient listeners. Now, if you can, if you have any doubt, we can take the questions. I think there are already so many questions in the chat box.
Yeah, there are questions in the Q&A box now.
Yes. So at present, publication of article in the valid and index journal post leaves for affordability, where it follows for paid authorship for publication purpose. What's your view in this concept, ma'am? I am not clear about this question. Okay, sir is trying to say that the free journal publication process is very slow, but doesn't mean that we'll end up publishing in a predatory journal. So now the publishers who are catering to your needs and giving customized services, most of them are predatory journals. So when you will check in the Scopus database, you will get to know that your paper is, so you end up paying a lot of money and publishing with a journal, but your paper is not indexed in the Scopus database. So to avoid such situation, even if they take some time, so this is something which full academia is facing. So we also work with the Elsevier people who is maintaining the database. Again, there are some issues like they are not having the home page link of many of the journals in their website. These are all issues we are facing, but there are faculties who are working with them also. We are hopeful that these things will be taken care of. So the slow publications are because they are getting a lot of papers, manuscripts. So that is why the review process also becomes slow accordingly, and that actually end up getting a delay in your publication. So I'm also working on a book which is to be published with Taylor and Francis. We started in 2022. Even today, I am working on it. So from our side, the manuscripts are submitted, but they come up with one or the other criteria or one or the other comments. That is to ensure the quality anyway. So we'll have to wait. Okay, ma'am, some of them have answered actually. Some of them are also asking questions. How to improve citation? I think I already discussed. Currently, numerous paid authorship services offer authorship without. These are all some opinion that they have given. So how to identify predatory journals? I have mentioned some steps in that. I'll also share this slide across so that ma'am can send it to you all. If you're unaware of clone journals and published paper, the issue is that your paper, as a researcher, your value or your authenticity will be in question. Next is you will end up publishing with a clone journal, your paper is wasted, nothing else. You cannot claim it anywhere. So for your academic, purposes, like if you want to claim it for your promotion or if you want to claim it as part of your compliances, you won't be able to claim it because it is a clone journal. shouldn't the pressure to publish from university management be categorized as unethical? So now it depends, because if the intention of the institution is only ranking, maybe you can say that it is not a right approach. But if the intention is to promote research and the dissemination of knowledge, it's a good step, because otherwise nobody will publish. So every university doesn't pressurize their employees or scholars to go for publication, but there are UGC guidelines also. So recently in India, UGC has said that publication is not mandatory for PhD, but even then some of the universities are following this in so long. So they'll take some time to maybe revise their policies and maybe come up with some other criteria. But otherwise, it is like when you're doing a post-doctoral thesis, it is expected that you will come up with some publication. So I think I've addressed all the questions in the chat box.
Thank you, ma'am. And I do have a question.
Ma'am, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
I would like to get permission from Ms. Rajula, the Globe Ethics Coordinator, to give some of my compliments and register my compliment. Also, some concerns I would like to discuss. Is it possible?
Sure, please spotlight him.
Yeah. It was a very comprehensive presentation. And I'm very happy that the scholars would have definitely got the new insights you have shared on how to go about the research publications and the research writings. But my concern is, today, most of our scholars take up all these AI tools. The visit to academic libraries are becoming very, very low. And what about the cognitive ability of the scholars? Would you like to comment on that?
Sir, I completely agree, because so again, this is about the time. So now you have a better source where you don't have to put in a lot of efforts, and with very little work when you can finish whatever is mandated. So that's why I think that there has to be some kind of step. There should not be any mandate for even doing PhD. So people who are doing research with interest, so they may not go for this use of AI or whatever shortcut is available there. They'll find library as the better place to sit and do their research. But now people who are not doing it because they want to do PhD or they want to do some research in life, but it is just because they it's a mandate from the academia that if you have a PhD, then only you can proceed further in your academic career. So there they'll end up doing all these. So now we cannot blame them also, but there is a way to use these technology also for doing a research. So this is what I was explaining to them, that you can use these platforms maybe for creating a flow chart. So now creating flow chart becomes very difficult. So maybe for otherwise for the data analysis purposes, there are multiple softwares, AI-based softwares, which is useful for all these kind of research. You are doing research of the systematic literature review and meta-analysis. So there you need to identify the literature of some period. So now, sir, when you say that journals, so they cannot sit and it is literature review, and most journals are looking for the journal publications or article publications than a book which is available in the library. So now they don't have any other way other than depending on the databases. So now these kind of softwares, AI-based softwares can be used to identify the literatures on a particular area in an easy way than depending on them for creating your content. So that is something which I want to say.
Yeah. Another thing, I always think about it. Whenever we have webinars or seminars or conferences with regard to artificial intelligence, we talk about the scholars. But what about the research supervisors who even recommend the cloned, because they have some kind of an understanding with the publishers and they force the scholars to publish. And after that, they'll find out that it is a cloned journal. Fine. And what are we really doing about those research supervisors? Because, we talk about ethics, but what kind of ethics do they follow in their practice as a research supervisor? They're asking many favors from the research scholars, including the sexual favors. And the women scholars are really oppressed in the research area. What do you say for that?
Sir, actually, to some extent, the legal knowledge is also something which is required. So, I don't know, are you from India, sir?
I am from the lands end of India, Kanyakumari.
Okay, sir. So now
Okay.
in India, we have a POSH Act, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace. So now in our university, so this is something which is institution based. You should have your policy in place. So something which cannot be regulated by UGC or any other organization for that matter. So now we, like all our first year students, our UG, PG and PhD scholars undergo a training of POSH. So where we also train them and what constitutes sexual harassment, because that has something to do with law now. So now also in addition to that, there is a workshop that we do. In addition to that, we also have an IC created. This is again a mandate as per the act. Every institution should have an internal committee. So once there is awareness and once there is a committee created, I don't think there is any question of these kind of issues within the institutions, because the faculties or the supervisors also will be scared of that kind of actions which might happen against them. So educating your scholars on the POSH Act and the sexual harassment provisions, and also putting a IC in place is something with which you can address this issue.
Yeah, that's true. I know some of the universities have taken action against those people, and they have even suspended them from continuing as a research supervisor. But there are research supervisors, they collect money for each chapter. That is still going on. Who is going to control them? They collect money for each chapter, and a scholar spends about 10 lakhs before he publishes a thesis.
So
what to do with those things?
These are all issues.
I mean, being a lawyer and working in a law college, I would like to get your...
University disciplinary committee is the only answer there again, because if there are some such kind of actions or the supervisors are exploiting the children, they can either approach the university mechanism, whatever is in place. If they are not getting a solution, there is something called as right to education. So now, under the right to education, you can also challenge it before the court as well, because these kind of treatments are something which needs to be brought before the court of law, so that it they'll not continue such practices. I agree with you, because I know faculties during the COVID. So there are faculties who are having more than 70-80 publications in 1 year period. I know somebody from Kerala who is heading one university is having 103 publications in 1 year period. I don't know how it is even possible. So now it is just because of the networking and the PhD scholars that they are having. So otherwise, it's not humanly possible to come up with 103 publications. That too, in every publication is in Scopus and Web of Science.
Thank you, ma'am. Actually, that's my concern. I would like to find out from you, what is your comment on, or what is your perspective on such an unethical practice being committed by or followed by the research supervisors? Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. It was a very comprehensive presentation. Wonderful it is. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you, ma'am, and thank you, Dr. Joseph Dunstan. Ma'am, I do have a concern, and then I think in India, as per some statistics, we have 2.13 lakh research scholars right now. I think to the global audience, it is 213,000 scholars in India alone. And we have roughly 300 academic journals and globally 40,000 peer-reviewed journals. And I'm really not sure because in every higher education institution, now somehow there is a pressure. The publication is connected with their appraisal at the end of the year, plus the salary hike mainly. And I think there is really a lot of pressure. In some institution, it is 2 per year, but in many institutions, it is 3 plus 6. I think because of that, even the NAC accurate, it is connected again, so are there enough number of journals for all the researchers, and I have only mentioned the research scholars number, not the faculty. And for faculty, it is actually mandatory every year. And then are there enough journal which is of high quality, which is clean, transparent, enough to accommodate the work of all the researchers in India?
Ma'am, of course there are. So if you go to the Scopus source list that I already have shown, so if you go there, you will see the list of the journals which are indexed with Scopus alone. So it is just Scopus, but other than Scopus, you also have Web of Science, you also have ABDC, UGC care listed journals are there. So now there are so many journals. So there is no doubt about it. But quality publications are not happening. So now sometimes the journals which are not charging the article processing fee, I wouldn't say that all journals which are charging article processing fee are predatory in nature, but some journals they do charge because the review they need to pay their reviewers also. So now, like, everyone is facing this issue of the reviewers taking a lot of time to finish the review and like give the paper. So that is one reason that is causing the delay. Otherwise, ma'am, if there are quality papers, there are a lot of publications which you can rely on. So I just downloaded the Scopus source list now. It has 1,71,155 journals, ma'am. So I'll just show you. This is the number. So now you need to check the scope and see which journal fits your work and what area you want to publish. I hope this is visible to you.
Yes.
These are all journals indexed in the Scopus database. So it is more than 1 lakh. 1,70,000 is there in only in Scopus. So you also have like this, you also have the Web of Science journals as well as ABDC, that is for marketing and the management. Then there is Web of Science also. So now altogether, I'm sure, and this is just Scopus indexed. And then the UGC care list, and if you consider the other peer-reviewed publications, there will be another 2-3 lakhs journals like that. So there is no question of like scarcity of journals or scholars not having enough journal to publish. It is there.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And it was really wonderful today. And on behalf of Global South Asia Center and the INCA Sri Lanka, it's my sincere honor and privilege to extend a heartfelt vote of thanks to you, ma'am, Dr. Dania, for your deeply insightful and thought-provoking session today. Dr. Dania, your presentation masterfully wove together the technical, ethical, and legal dimensions of responsible authorship, transparency in research publishing, and global perspectives on research ethics. The clarity with which you addressed complex challenges like authorship disputes, duplicate publication, and ethical dilemmas in cross-border research were both enlightening and empowering. Your rich academic and policy experience combined with the real world case examples offered our participants a rare opportunity to understand not just the what, but the how and why of ethical research practices. You've certainly added depth and perspective to our ongoing conversation on integrity in higher education. We are grateful for the time, preparation, and passion you brought to this session. Thank you for generously sharing your expertise and for engaging with our audience so meaningfully. We look forward to continued collaboration and wish you every success in your ongoing work at your institution and beyond. Once again, thank you, Dr. Tanya.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Somebody is asking for the Scopus list. I'll share all these list and materials and also the slide with you.
Okay, ma'am. You can
share it across.
Yes.
Thank you.
Dear participants, as we come to the close of another insightful and engaging session, I want to thank each and every one of you for your active participation and thoughtful reflections throughout the day. It has been a truly thought-provoking and engaging day 4 of our 5-day journey on research ethics in higher education. And I take this moment to sincerely thank all those who made today's session so impactful. Professor Prashanti Narangoda, the director, NCASH, for her continued support and leadership in strengthening this international collaboration. Dr. John Methusala, our co-curator, and Dr. Joseph Dunstan, he was supposed to address us, but due to another emergency, he couldn't. Probably next time he will address in our gathering. And also to all our participants from India and across all the countries from where you have attended. We had more than 25 countries registered, plus attended from day one of this conference. Thank you once again for your presence, your introductions, and your meaningful engagement throughout the session. Your voices are what make this truly a global learning place. We will reassemble tomorrow for day 5, the final day at 5:30 p.m. IST, with one last but very special session to wrap up this remarkable FDP. As we prepare for the final day of our international FDP on research ethics in higher education, we warmly invite you to share your reflections and experiences from this meaningful journey. A few selected participants will be given the opportunity to speak live as a panelist tomorrow during the day 5 closing session, sharing brief remarks on what this FDP has meant to you. To ensure a diverse representation, we will be selecting the first 3 overseas participants who expresses interest by email or in my WhatsApp, 1 participant from Sri Lanka and 1 participant from India. So I request you to express your interest if you are willing to share a testimony with the audience tomorrow before the closure of the event. You can reach out to me. If you're interested in being considered, please write to me directly at rajula@globalthics.net or in my WhatsApp with a short reflection, 3 to 5 lines, and your expression of interest by tomorrow, probably before the event begins. We would be delighted to feature your voice in the concluding panel as we celebrate this global commitment to ethical research. Looking forward to hearing from you. Until then, take care and stay connected. Thank you and see you all tomorrow.